Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. Just a few days ago, Aptera dropped their semi-annual SEC filing. So this is for the semi-annual period ending June 30th, 2023, and they dropped that in late September. So I thought we would go over it. There's a couple of interesting things in this report. They're talking about their results of the operations for the 6-month periods ending in June of 2023 and June of 2022. They're comparing those two periods. They increased their expenses by a lot, but that is not cash burn. Most of this increase in expenses is actually in the form of stock options, which they're giving to their employees and their executives. These don't really cost them money, but it does dilute the stock of shareholders. But it is a way for them to avoid cash burn, and they have cash is like the most important thing for startups. Equipment and travel expenses decreased by almost $400,000. So I don't know how much of this is travel and how much of it is equipment, but that is quite a bit of travel money. And then salary, wages, and benefits decreased by almost 300,000 because of they basically let a lot of people go. Because they're trying to lean down to reduce cash burn. And we knew about that at the annual report when we saw that they decreased their headcount by quite a bit. And then it was these decreases were offset by they increased stock-based compensation of $10 million. So this is $10 million worth of stock that they were giving to retain talent. So they're instead of increasing the salaries of their employees, they are giving them more stock options, which I think is a good way to go, in my opinion, because they need to hold on to cash. And then an increase in marketing expenses of almost $300,000. So they spent almost $300,000 in the past 6 months in marketing related expenses, which sounds like a lot to me, but then I don't know. It probably isn't a lot in the big scheme of things, I'm guessing. I'm sure other companies spend way more than that on marketing. And then increase of 1.4 million of facility related expenses, as well as increased rent expense related to the Vista building. So we're going to talk about that later because they kind of mentioned that. Okay, so let's go on to here. This is talking about the leases. So in the 6-month period in September of 2023, they signed an early lease termination agreement with the landlord, releasing the company for its obligations under the lease. In exchange for the early termination, we agreed to pay a cash settlement of $1 million. So they paid $1 million to get out of the lease. This is almost definitely talking about the Vista building, which was their solar production building. But then when they realized that CPC was going to make their bodies and they did not have to make their bodies in-house, they realized they didn't need all the square footage, so they have that El Camino Real building and then the Vista building. So they consolidated to the El Camino Real building, and they had put the Vista building up for sublease, or they tried to sublease it to someone else, but I think they couldn't find a subleaser, so they negotiated an agreement with their landlord to let them get out of the lease. And they said they paid him $1 million. Later on in the thing, it's a little confusing because they said, oh, here we go. In December of 2022, we reassessed our production facility needs and began to look for sublease tenants for our Vista building. In determining whether our operating lease assets were impaired, we considered the intended future use of the assets, including whether we were expected to be able to sublease the related facilities. In both cases, we expected to eventually be able to sublease facilities. Our projected future cash inflows from projected sublease income reflected this expectation. In order to determine whether an impairment existed, we compared. Okay, so basically, they decided that they couldn't do it. And so in September 23, we signed an early surrender agreement with the landlord, releasing the company from its obligations under the lease. In exchange for the early surrender, we agreed to pay a cash settlement of $1.8 million. So that's a little different than the $1 million here. So I don't know. I'm almost positive they're talking about the same event. I don't think that there's two different leases that they're getting out of and paying an early termination fee. So I don't think it's 2.8 million. So I don't know if it's the 1 million that's correct or the 1.8 million is correct. I suspect that it is the 1.8 million. That is the correct number.
Can you hear that? That's the lovely sound of silence. Only a couple of birds coming through the open window. The sound, that is, not the birds. But now I have time to actually talk. Well, I thought I needed to talk here because I don't know how to put it in words, and it'd be even harder to type the words. But we've got the cretin making another guess. We've got a $1 million penalty payment in the SEC filings, and we've got another $1.8 million penalty payment in the SEC filings. And he's guessed that it's the 1.8 and not the 1 because he thinks the Vista penalty would be higher. And he thinks it's just Vista. I'm not so sure. I don't like to guess like him, but I do know that there was a third factory, and that going back some months, the cretin wrote a letter or an email to Aptera Motors asking why Vista was up for lease when he accidentally discovered that it was. And they wrote back saying all three properties are up for lease. And so if I see two penalties, first thing that comes to my mind is that two factories are being abandoned. So the battery making factory, wherever that was, I don't know, but that has probably been abandoned as well as Vista, and it might have got one of those two penalties. I'm not going to hazard a guess as to whether it be that or not, just saying that that's another option if anybody likes to guess. Just think about it. Before they were even making solar panels, they were making batteries in a third location. And although we have not seen one battery pack from that factory, we were told that that's what they were doing. We were told they were well into production of batteries. Of course, at the Tesla takeover, we hear Chris saying they are looking for another supplier of batteries for them to make battery packs out of. Pretty strange, isn't it? Been making batteries for more than a year, and less than a couple of months ago, we have Chris saying they're looking for suppliers. Just shows we don't know what to believe when it comes to whatever Chris says. So that's why I decided to talk. I just didn't want to have to type this part of it.
Nothing else is that interesting here. And that's pretty much the end of this. What I found interesting. What I found the most interesting is that they did indeed get out of the Vista lease, which I think was good because they were just paying a lot of rent for that, and they weren't using it at all. And I think they could not find a sublease. So I think that them finding early termination agreement was really good.
Another time I would rather talk, even though I hate to talk, than type long text boxes. This is the part about, let me know what you think about paying $1.8 million to get out of Vista. Well, I don't guess. The cretin guesses that it's a good thing, but I say it's a bad thing. I've decided that they could have done better, that they could have used that 1.8 million and the couple of months extra that they needed at Vista, because there's probably years away from them ever producing anything like a Delta, but they could have used that couple of months, avoided the penalty, and spent 1.8 million making those new solar panels that they say, that's of course listening to Chris Anthony speak, and you can never believe anything he says, but he has said they have a superior product and they can't use the ones that they've been making. There must be hundreds by now that they've made that must go into landfill or somewhere because they're not good enough to go on the Delta. So on top of that waste, they've decided to spend a $1.8 million penalty to just stop producing. In the past couple of months, they have produced nothing at the Carlsbad factory. They could have stayed there those few months and made, with that $1.8 million just given away, they could have made, I guess, quite a lot. I don't have any idea. I shouldn't say I guess quite a lot. I have no idea how many, but pretty certain it's a lot. They could have made panels that are suitable to go on the Delta. These people really don't know what they're doing, and the cretin is just following along like a puppy, and he's not taking a realistic view of anything that he sees. He's just following in sheer delusion. You can tell why I didn't like the idea of having to write a long text box for that.